Guys, this is a board game show, though. We gotta play a board game, right? Can't dismount the crowd. We got to play a board game. So I thought we would do the ENVIE game. We haven't done that one in a while, Steve. Why don't you give Clarence and Mike just a quick overview of what the ENVIE game is?
Sure. What we're going to do is going to play kind of like a chat crew version of maybe 20 questions of some sort. Mike, I think, has drawn the short straw and is going to be the person who thinks of a game. Now, the idea of an ENVIE game, where BJ would probably say this is the game that if you had the perfect conditions, the perfect people to play with, the time to do it, the money to buy that Grail game that you can't quite find, what would be the game that you would play if you could drop everything right now and play it in the perfect condition? Mike's thought of one. Hopefully, hasn't told us what it is. The three of us, Clarence, BJ, and I, are going to try to ask some questions to guess what it is. The chat folks can jump in and type theirs in the chat as well and post their guesses. And if Mike stumps us, Mike wins. But then otherwise, the first person to get it is the winner of the ENVIE.
That's right, and we're competing against the chat crew, so we're trying to outthink them too. And they'll be asking questions. Their questions are not going to count, but Steve and I and Clarence will try to keep track of roughly 20 questions. This is the ENVIE game presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Remember, make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. They got that Kickstarter 4.0 coming up. I think
first guess already on the table.
We have a guess already. So we always start out with kind of the same question. Mike, you understand the rules of the game, right?
I do.
And it's a competitive, not a cooperative game, right? Okay, good. Not your game. I'm talking about the game, the ENVIE game.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
As the host, I'm going to start with the first question. Is it, Mike, a cooperative or a competitive game? Which one is it? I'm going to guess it's competitive.
It is a competitive game.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Clarence, you got a question? I see you scratching like you were really, deep in.
Let's say, was it released in the past 5 years?
Great question.
It was not.
Okay. Ooh, it's older than 5 years. Okay. Steve, what you got?
Would you call this a very thematic game?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it have miniatures?
No.
No minis. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
Is it in the BGG top 100?
Definitely not.
Oh.
He's going deep. Jay is asking, are there meeples?
Yes, I would say there are meeples.
All right, so we got to
I would say there are meeples makes the
Well, they're not official meeples. They're like custom shaped meeples.
But they're
yeah.
Okay. Like
but they're made of wood. Yeah, they're made of wood.
The Waziples from.
But I know some people. Yeah, I know some people. So they are custom shaped meeples, wooden pieces. Yeah.
All right, so we got meeple type pieces. It's competitive. It's thematic. Hasn't come out in the last 5 years. Any other questions from the chat crew?
Nothing yet. Let me think. Are there
is victory points the winning thing? Is that what it's about? Is it about victory points?
So you do not win by having the most victory points, but there is a point threshold each round.
Nail down
the date more. 5 years wasn't enough. We might need to go. We know how far back we have to go here. Do you have a question, Stacy? Throw one out there.
What you got, Clarence? What's your question?
I was gonna say, would you consider it to be a fantasy game?
Good question. I like it.
I would say no.
Okay.
Okay. Is there an IP associated with it?
No.
Okay, not an IP. So not an IP game, no miniature, no minis, but it does have meeple type things. It's thematic.
It's a little obscure.
It's a little obscure. It's not in the top 100, probably not in the top 1,000 of VGG. Not IP based. Is there any social deduction aspect to it?
No. I mean, typical social deduction game, no. But I mean, you're trying to read your opponents,
Okay. But not like BSG where you've got a hidden trader.
No, definitely not.
No. Okay.
Is there any sort of grid in the game?
Nope.
You were thinking Battleship, Clarence?
I don't know.
It's not that
I was
old.
thinking
It's
any
not
like
Battleship
even hex
old.
grids or any sort of area
Super
control
tic tac
game.
toe.
What's that ideal player count?
Good question.
I would say the ideal player count is 2 to 3.
Ooh.
Okay.
But it does play to 4.
Okay. My question here. The designer of the game, for people who are really in the hobby, would they say, "Oh, I know who did that"? Is it a
No.
recognizable? Okay.
Nope.
So we're getting obscure.
Yeah, but here I'll give.
Oh wait,
Clarence,
does it have frogs in it?
I would have to. I don't think so. It's not a prominent feature.
So it's not cosmic.
Is there a frog on one of on a component in the game? Maybe. Like I would.
No,
I don't have all the art memorized.
I was thinking.
Here's what I will say though: the designer and this game came from the video game space.
But it's not IP.
It's not IP, but I'm sure that the designers and people behind the game are from the video game space.
It's not legal. It's not League of Legends thing because that was cooperative.
Stacy is asking if it has combat.
No combat.
What's another? And it's not any game by Clarence Simpson, who used to do video games.
No, that'd be really mean. But I mean, it definitely was like I
did my homework, Clarence,
a little bit because of the video game thing. It's definitely people who I think this is the only time they dabbled in the board game space.
ENVIE Studios is the publisher. Jay wants to know. No, it's not Moonrakers.
I think ENVIE Studios isn't more than 5 years old.
That's true.
Am I wrong about that?
Yeah.
I don't think they're more than 5 years old.
No, you're right. Yeah, not Moonrakers. Does Toby have a guess, Steve?
No.
You guys want a couple more? I'll give you a couple more
complaining.
factoids. The game was kickstarted.
Okay.
Can it play in under an hour or hour or less?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Does it have dice?
Nope.
So it's not Alien Frontiers. Okay.
Is there a board?
There is a board, but it's just to keep track of this point threshold.
Are you playing with a hand of cards?
Yes.
Hand of cards.
Maybe we should try to nail the mechanism down?
I think it has a very unique mechanism.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the conceit of the game is really cool. I'd love to see another game. But on your turn, all you really do is play one card in some way, in different ways. There's different ways you can play a card, but that's all you do on your turn.
It's not fantasy themed.
There's different ways you can play a card. The cards are multi-use?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you put the meeples on the cards?
Nope.
I think Jay's right here. We're going to get to this point where we're going to say, oh, okay.
I mean, I think this game's a little bit of a hidden gem personally, which is why I sort of picked it. But I was also afraid that when I was answering the question, everything else would be super obvious. Because
I'm hoping you're right about the gem, but I definitely think you're right about hidden.
Has the designer done anything? Has the designer done anything we would have recognized? Any other games?
I don't think so. I'd have to go to BGG and click. So I'm gonna click.
So one.
If they have any other, they do not have any other board game, but they definitely have video game credits.
So one hit wonder. Is it I Ran So Far Away? No.
No.
Thinking one hit wonders.
So
yes, it was designed by a flock of seagulls. Big
Right, that's what I was thinking.
So you said it's not an IP, but would you say it's an homage to an IP?
No, I don't think so.
Good question.
Worker is worker placement in the game?
No.
Doesn't sound like it. No. No.
Here, we'll get so
one more
on
hit.
your okay, one more hit. So on your turn, you play a card. And you can either play the card for points, play the card for its effect, or save it for a future round.
And the only thing the board does is track the points. And you're playing the card for points. Let's see.
Do you guys think theme would help us? We asked if it was
I
fantasy
think
before.
I think theme gives it away. So I'm
Okay,
not,
so
I'm
let's-
not going
let's-
to personally give you that theme. I mean, I think the mechanisms lend into the theme that I just listed.
It also wasn't a clear no to when I asked fantasy. Right? You said I wouldn't call it fantasy, which
Yeah, I
sounds
wouldn't.
like fantasy adjacent or something.
Jace's Karmaka?
Yep,
No.
that's it.
Oh, it isn't.
Wow.
Wow. DJ Bell with the big win. I don't know this game. So
I've never
Very
even heard of
thematic.
this.
Very thematic about trying to go through reincarnations.
Yep.
Wow. I don't know
Yeah.
this game.
And
So
a beautiful game, too.
give us the elevator pitch. What's it about?
So the artwork is absolutely gorgeous in this game.
Yes.
I mean, it's mostly a deck of cards, but the whole idea is you're trying to work your way up to be an enlightened being. So you have to hit a certain threshold of points or karma. I think they're karma points.
Yep.
Each lifetime to move up, the ladder. And the first one to hit the top wins. So it's not a point-based game. You're trying to just get there first. But the cool thing, the coolest mechanism about it, the thing that I love about it, it's actually one of those games like I don't think it's ever going to be in print again. So like I'm never giving my copy up because this is one of those like if you give it up, you'll never get it back. But one of the coolest things about it is the card effects. If you play a card on somebody, like there's talk about take that. This game 100% has take that. But if someone plays a really nasty card on you, you have the option of like taking that bad karma they've given you and storing it for like your future life. Game. So it's all about playing your cards, like, but also the cards with the coolest effects are worth a ton of points, and you need to hit higher and higher point thresholds to move up. So you're constantly like building. It's such a simple game, but there's so much complex strategies in it because you're playing cards for their effects at crucial times to bump someone down so they can't ascend in that hand of cards. And then you're also like storing cards for your future life to bank points to ascend the next round or the next hand. Because as you move up the ladder and you need higher and higher points, it gets tough. Like you really need to match the set and do it right.
When I saw the pictures of it, I didn't remember the name at all. When I saw the pictures of it, I'm like, I remember playing this game with DJ Bell. And yeah, we wrote about it, me and Jay.
Yeah, so Jay's asking what video game is inspired by. It's not inspired by a video game, but the designer of it is from an independent video game company called Hemisphere Games. They had a game called Dyson. I think they had to rename it because of like Dyson vacuums. But if you look up Hemisphere Games, they're like an indie publisher, or they were. I mean, I don't know if they're still around. It was back in 2016 when I was more in the indie video game side of things. Their website still works. Osmos is what they renamed their game to. Their video game.
When you started talking about the cards and the way they played, and then I saw those rings, and I remember, oh yeah, those rings. How about that one though? Karma, Chameleon, Steve. Come on, man. Give that up, right? Come on.
Yes.
So I do think this is like a hidden gem. Like if you can find this game, I mean, it's definitely out of print, but if you can find it cheap somewhere, I mean, the artwork, I think at a convention when I bought this game, I think I saw it at PAX East, and the video game developer were there, like they were, in indie games. Their indie game is half the booth, and like this board game they were working on is the other half. And the artist was there, and he's like a French-Canadian artist. So they're from Canada, I believe. And he was showing me because I think it hadn't been Kickstarted yet. So it's one of the first board games I kickstarted on Kickstarter, I believe.
Two things I remember.
If you look at my profile.
Steve, very dreamy art.
Yes.
And when Mike was talking about what is Take That, that's the definition of Take That.
Yeah.
That game was so punchy, Jay. Oh my God. Me and Jay and Bradley are just like messing with each other the whole time. It's all
and I could see what Stacy might say at that point, that maybe that doesn't seem so terribly Buddhist. Maybe not so compassionate to try and make the other person into a dung beetle by the time.
Best $5 he's ever spent at the Ross outlet store. Nicely done. Mike,
yeah,
you stumped us. That's a great. Well, you didn't stump Jay, but you stumped
Jay.
us. That was great, man.
Yeah, Jay, good job, man. I thought with people watching and stuff, I thought if I picked something like the game I really want to find right now and not to pay $100 for is Heat Pedal to the Metal.
Yeah.
But that would have been like an easy guess. So,
Clarence, did you have an ENVIE game? Had you thought of one? If it would have been?
No, I hadn't really. No, I was hoping Mike would do it.
He said not it too quickly and then turned off. Didn't have to think about that anymore.
All right.
Well, then I had to make it competitive. The competitive spirit of me was like, I can't pick something obvious. So,
Right.
Heat
Well
pedal
done.
to the metal would.
but it's on my shelf back there. It's one of those games like I personally really like. I really want someone else. I've even thought about it myself, like this design mechanic of, because I love deck building and like this is basically like hand building, where like you're taking a card and being like, I'm saving this for next round, and like you're losing that resource to do something this round. And like I want to try to figure out a cool way to put that in one of my games, but I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, that was a good one. Good choice, Karma.
Well
That was a
done.
good one.